iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
Well, I think, first of all, it's just this epic love story, and it's like Romeo and Juliet, like these two lovers that can't be together. So I think just that is something that people just love to see.
Romeo and Juliet is timeless, and I think West Side Story, the musicalized version of Romeo and Juliet is, when you get it right in a musical, it's so rare, it's so hard. It's the one, I think, art form that is like, the genre is just so hard to get right, and West Side Story clearly is such a masterpiece and has been done so right. And so we're constantly trying to bring it back and reinvent it, and I think this production just turns it on its head, and it's just so exciting.
The story is timeless. It's Romeo and Juliet, and I think, you can think of family members or friends, who have fallen in love with a person that maybe the rest of the world has a problem with, and pursue it against all odds. And I think that's a really compelling story. Love wins, right?
When it was written, however many years ago it was written, the themes still exist. I mean, it's social, it's economic, it's political. There's love, there's rapture, there's all of these themes, adversity, disagreement. We still deal with them now. It's 2020. All of these years later, musicals like this transcend. There is no, how do we make this work? Yes, it's going to be different tonight. There's a reason. I mean, it's 2020, but the themes that existed back then still exist now. They just exist in a different way. And talking about them through this piece is something that I think will never get old.
I think it is the pain of growing up, all that push to the uber limits. They're gang members and they're struggling to have identity in this country, and they're all working out their sexuality. They're working out happiness, unhappiness, prejudices, and it's kind of a wonderful story. And I love Romeo and Juliet. I mean, what's not to love? And you always hope and wish that it doesn't end the way it does. But it's kind of a beautiful story.
It was so groundbreaking. It was so ahead of its time. There's really kind of never been anything quite like it before or since. I mean, things have followed in its footsteps, but there's something about the kind of realism and also the fantastical side of it, that the meeting of the fantastical and the real I feel like has never quite been perfected the way it's perfected in this show.
I'm looking forward to seeing a show that I love and have loved since I was 6 years old, and to see someone be brave enough to fully explore it and experiment with it. I think if we're going to have it on Broadway again so soon, why not look for something new and different and see what else we can learn from this piece?
I want to see how they've reimagined a classic, and I want to see how they've taken all the things in our country now and really melded that into what we know is the story. There's a lot of things in West Side Story that are really now, and I want to see how they play with that and lean into that.
I'm looking forward to see Evo's take on a classic play.
The music is stunning, and what it did at the time that it was made. Oh, people are singing. You're not getting that here, or from me. But the history of the musical in general, and then to do it now with Evo seems like an incredible opportunity that I can't wait to see what it is.
I think I just heard, I was getting my hair did, and there was a mom there whose kid was making their Broadway debut in this show, and it was so moving to me, being a mom and being an old timer and an old broad on Broadway. So it's like I'm really excited to see these beautiful beings, like 30 of them, I think, making their debut, and also I love this idea that. We're reinventing constantly this beautiful art form, and the small community keeps making stretches and trying new things and bringing in a more diverse audience into our community. And I really applaud that work and that kind of artistry. So I'm really interested to see what they're doing with that.
Well, I'm really excited to see the 33, debut performances, but also just to see the choreography, because the Jerome Robbins choreography is, it's so memorable. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do.
There is something about making your Broadway debut that feels surreal. It doesn't quite feel real until the next morning. And you do a circle up, usually, which was what I did when I made my Broadway debut. You stand on stage, you look out, you think to yourself, God, I thought I'd never get here. I cannot believe this moment is mine. And it's hard to think about it in the moment because you have so much to do. But it is the most beautiful thing. And to have the support of the rest of that company with you on stage for an opening night, for a Broadway first opening night, is one of the coolest feelings in the world.
I think most people who are coming up today have such a they know themselves so well, much better than I ever did when I was making a Broadway debut. I think they, I'm sure that they're all together, banded together, having the best time.
Oh my God, it's like, you know what I really hope, that they allow themselves to feel whatever they feel, everyone making those debuts, and that they also recognize that your Broadway debut in many ways is whatever you make it to be. It's really on you to check in with the gratitude and the experience and take in as much as possible and remind yourself where you came from, and how beautiful the whole experience is.
I know when I made my Broadway debut in the Coast of Utopia, and that was a cast of 45, but to be with 33 other people making their Broadway debut, and we can all speculate how or why or youth or what it is that makes it particularly special this time. I can't wait to witness it. Like, I truly can't wait to witness it.
I can only imagine how thrilling it was. A couple of the shows I've done, we've had people make their Broadway debuts, and we always celebrated them backstage with champagne. I'm sure they're going to be having that and celebrating, because it's quite a milestone and quite an achievement, because you think you always want to be there, Sometimes you're like, what? Why? But now, it's like they're just starting, and it's a kind of a thrilling beginning to their careers.
They're excited and scared. And look, you never forget your Broadway debut. Mine was Rock of Ages, and it was like one of the best nights of my entire life. So I'm sure that they're just, they're having a very meaningful night, and they probably, the performance will be a blur to them. It's okay. The press has already gone. They've already been reviewed this last week. So it's really just about a party and celebrating it with each other. So.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.